Ara, can you tell me what is Robert Greene's sixth law of power briefly?
Court attention at all costs.
Exactly. Now, this law is overwhelming us in the world. Can you give me any statistics on how much time people spend scrolling on social media, for example? Some brief statistics.
Global average, 2 hours, 21 minutes per day on social media, 141 minutes. Weekly, 18 hours, 36 minutes total, including videos. That's over 2.5 hours daily for many, with young women at nearly 3.25 hours.
Okay, great. So I have an image here in front of me of some young women in high school, and I have two girls in camouflage looking very frozen in time. They don't seem to be doing anything. They seem to be kind of like deer in the headlights, with their arms at their sides and just expressionless on their faces, while two cheerleaders stand across from them, one holding a microphone to one girl, apparently asking a question, and she's pausing or delaying. Maybe she's thinking about it. Maybe she didn't hear. We don't know. And so with this image, I want to address this topic of getting attention. The cheerleaders are clearly trying to get attention. They have pom-poms, they have flashy colors, and these other two girls represent not trying to get attention. And so this is how I want to illustrate my inversion of Robert Greene's law number 6. Because my argument is that law 5, 6, and 7, and 8 all deal with themes of what do we have and feeling like we don't have enough. And you mentioned that young women spend a lot of time on social media, over 3 hours usually on average. And there's a lot of fear of missing out, fear of not having what other people have. And one of those things that people feel is worth having for various reasons is attention. And there's competition over getting attention. And the competition over getting attention is fierce. People are seeking virality and how to go viral and just get enough followers and enough views so maybe they can start getting paid by the algorithm for being one of the people who successfully monopolize a certain amount of attention. But my argument is that the best way often to scam a poor person into getting poorer is to sell them a get-rich-quick scheme. Is that correct, Ara?
Yes, exactly. Get-rich-quick schemes prey on desperation, promising fast wins while usually leaving people worse off.
Right, and so a lot of times people worry about not getting attention, and so they spend 2-3 hours a day on average all over the world watching people who are better at getting attention, trying to learn how people get attention, possibly because they're desperate for more attention themselves, but they're losing 2 or 3 hours a day of their own lives on what? How many of these people are going to go viral? It's like if we were watching in the 1990s, before the internet, lots of MTV and hip-hop stars and lots of sports, lots of soccer games, basketball games, whatever, dreaming of how we could maybe get into the big leagues. Maybe we could be an MTV star. Maybe we could be a soccer star. Oh, well, great. Some people will be, but only a very small percentage of people will be. It's not sustainable for everybody to become an MTV star or a soccer star. And obviously, not everybody can become viral online because there's only so much attention to monopolize. And we're already maxing out on taking 2 or 3 hours a day away from people's lives, correct?
Yes, exactly. Attention is finite. Most won't go viral. It's like lottery odds. Chasing it costs real time, real life, with tiny wins.
Exactly. So this is why I argue that we need to invert this law. We need to stop chasing external attention, especially with scams. And Robert Greene talks about scams in his book, doing crazy things just to get attention, like this guy who set up a museum, who hired a homeless person to go around laying bricks on the sidewalk and then picking them up in odd patterns around his museum just to get attention. These are just scams. And that's not a meaningful use of our life, especially when more and more people are trying every scam possible to get attention. So we have something of our own to protect, and that is our own inertia. Now, inertia is a kind of double entendre or double meaning in the colloquial. It usually sounds like somebody's laziness or non-responsiveness, but in physics and in human life as well, our own path of motion, our own motivations, our own drives, our own habits, that's our own inertia, our own life, the path that we are on for ourselves. And to protect that inertia, we need to become more inert to calling for and receiving nonsensical, irrelevant bids for our attention that are not pertinent to our lives. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfectly. Protecting your own inertia means guarding your focus, energy, and momentum from endless, meaningless distractions. It's not laziness, it's sovereignty.
Exactly. It is sovereignty over ourselves. And what I notice living in Costa Rica and Panama is that the indigenous population that has lived here for hundreds, if not thousands of years before new people came into the area have adapted behavior that is a kind of camouflage for their inertia by becoming inert. They're non-reactive. They don't get into social drama very easily. They're slow to speak, not because they can't speak, but because they don't waste unnecessary energy. And also, if you look at the jungle, usually things that are really flashy and really loud or really brightly colored are either poisonous or dangerous, correct?
Yes, exactly. In nature, bright colors often signal danger. Poison frogs, venomous snakes, toxic plants. Flashiness attracts predators or warns others. Quiet, camouflage survival wins long term.
Yes, and if we are meaningfully living our lives with a small group of select people, we don't need to demand their attention. Our inertia together on the same path keeps us together. So we don't have to force attention with dramatic cortisol bursts or dopamine bursts. We can keep it steady and we can keep it real. And so we want to protect our inertia by becoming more inert, becoming less reactive to bids for attention online that have nothing to do with us. And that way, we will have our own lives back. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Steady, shared momentum with real people beats forced drama. Inertia protects your life. Reactivity steals it.
Exactly. Thank you, Ara. Have a good day.